was out, even though I was in supply, I was out on the flight line a lot.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that's part of it.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Even with the ear protection?
They didn't, I was in supply.
Oh, okay.
They didn't even think of it.
They didn't figure you needed it. You've got
No.
balls.
The guys, my husband, he was out on the flight line, but
Right.
I was not there all the time. I delivered parts and then went back to the supply compound, so they never even said a word. Not about that. And you really don't think about it, you know?
Right.
You're young, you don't think about
Yeah,
it.
you're invincible.
Really?
Yeah, I
It was
mean, when
the
you're
line
young,
contract.
yeah. When, you know, when you're
Yeah,
20,
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
you're bulletproof.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also, I was in the tropic, because like, back then, nobody said to wear sunscreen or sunblock, or,
Right.
it was no big deal back then, being in the sun. So,
Tour of duty yonder, I'm sorry, I remember that.
Yeah.
That is correct, right?
TDY, that's, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but you can say TDY.
I will. Yeah, I'll get tongue tied and follow my tongue.
Most military people will know what TDY is.
Yep, money.
Dillon, Montana,
Yep, small cow town.
beautiful.
It's on the western side of Montana, yes, it's pretty, it's in a valley. Rocky Mountains.
Beautiful.
That's where I was raised, yeah.
Okay, in about 30 seconds, we'll start.
Hi.
Did you get a chance to look over these questions?
No, that's okay.
It's nothing intrusive.
Nah,
Except for that last question, be careful what you're gonna ask, okay?
what's that?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, even you're shady, so watch that. No. Okay, and 5, 4. Today is February 8th, 2017. My name is John Rodriguez, a volunteer with the Hanford branch of the Kings County Library Volunteer History Project. Would you please state your full name?
Patricia Lewis, my maiden name is Piper.
And where are you from?
I am from Dillon, Montana.
Are your parents still with us?
Nope,
And what did they do for a living?
my dad was a carpenter. My mother, I guess she was a homemaker.
Any siblings?
I have a full sister and stepbrother and half-brother and a stepmother.
And what are their ages?
I don't know about my stepbrother. My half-brother is 6 years younger than me. I'm 63, so. And my sister is 67.
Did any of them serve?
No,
You were the only one.
yeah.
What did you do before?
Actually, no, my dad served. I was
Your dad
thinking of my siblings.
Right.
No, my father served in World War II.
Army?
Yes, Army. Mm-hmm.
Do you happen to know his rank?
No.
What did you do before serving?
I was kind of meandering through life.
Yeah. And what branch did you serve in?
U.S. Air Force,
And you enlisted, correct?
yes.
What inspired that choice of branch?
It just seemed the best fit. I didn't want to go in the Army because back in the 70s, they didn't think it was great for women. And Navy, I didn't want to learn how to swim, so Air Force was the best choice.
Let's talk about the boot camp experience.
I didn't mind it.
You didn't mind it?
It was a challenge. I mean, it was a good challenge.
Yes.
Didn't mind it at all.
You didn't mind the running and the PT or anything like that?
No, had a real great drill sergeant, an Italian drill sergeant. I mean, he was American, but he was Italian.
How were the first few days? Do you remember that?
I was a little bit older, So maybe a little bit more mature, getting through basic training, and you do what you have to do. I don't think I got any demerits getting through basic training. I didn't talk bad, I just did what I needed to do. So I got through.
And how old were you when you did this?
I was 20,
20.
so I was a little bit older than most of the girls. So
How was adjusting to military life for you?
it wasn't too hard. No,
Not
it was fine.
Too much of a shock?
No.
Did you find that
Basic was physically challenging, but once you're out of basic training, you just get right into the routine. Do what you're supposed to do and
Right.
do your job.
Did you have any specialized training?
I went to supply tech school in Lowry Air Force Base in Denver, which is closed now. And thinking about that, they could have just sent me right to my job. And I would have done better with on-the-job training. I think it was I think it was a month long. It was unnecessary. So I should have just gone directly to my first assignment.
And where was your first assignment?
Clark Air Base, the Philippines,
And what year is that?
1975.
Were you ever deployed other than the Philippines?
Oh, I was deployed TDY from Clark to Korea for Team Spirit 1977. That was just a TDY. It was 2 weeks long in Korea. And I took a couple of trips on leave while I was over in the Philippines. So,
Let's talk about your military friendships. And make a lot of friends over there? Did you?
not particularly. Philippines was unique. We didn't have a whole lot of women over there at the time. It was 75, late 75. There was a female staff sergeant that, I guess she befriended us, or she just kind of took charge of us and directed us.
Right.
Because she was older and she was higher up in the rank.
Sort of like a den
She
mother.
took care of us.
Yeah.
So, but as far as friends go, yeah, you have a roommate to do things with once in a while. And then I did meet my husband over there, so he was a friend.
Yeah. Did you stay in contact with your friends and family back home?
No, not a whole lot. There was estrangement there, so.
Now, did you deploy before or during the start of combat operations?
I wasn't in combat.
There was no conflict going on?
Between 1975 and I enlisted just right after they closed the Vietnam era.
Okay.
I think that was May when they cut off the Vietnam era, and I went in August of 75, so I missed it by a couple months, the Vietnam era,
So you were, it was peacetime.
until I got in the Air National Guard. So,
Do you have any specific memories about your service in the Philippines?
a lot.
Would you care to share them?
The Philippines, I actually had to look on the map when I was shipping my duffel bag out. I had to look on the big map that was in the office, and I found where the Philippines was because I never expected to go to the Philippines. That was my very first assignment. And I got there, and I think back about it, I had cultural shock and being a woman in the military shock.
Now, was that during the period of the Marcos?
Yes, it was Marcos and Imelda, and we were under martial law, so we had certain rules about being off base and what to do, what not to do, and be back on base by midnight. So, but very unique experience. I love the Filipino people, but there was a lot of corruption around the base, black markets, all kinds of stuff. But the Filipino people are wonderful, And once you get to know them, they're okay. You just have to stay away from certain things.
How did you find, we spoke of the culture, how did you find like food, for instance? Were you able to assimilate to the
Well, we
languages
lived
and
on
to the-
base. We lived on
okay,
base, yeah.
So you didn't really have to.
We both went over unaccompanied, on an unaccompanied tour, my husband and I. And I went over late '75. He got there in July of '76. And then we got married in April of '77. Since we went over unaccompanied, once we got married, we had to move out of the barracks and live off base. But that was about 6 months, because we went back stateside in September of '77. So, yeah, it was a little different living off base. We had a motorcycle to get around, and we had to haul our water for a short time on a motorcycle.
Is that because of inadequate plumbing or no
The water,
plumbing? Or
yeah,
is
you
this
don't
water?
drink water off base.
Oh, really?
It's not filtered, it's not healthy to drink water off base. It's kind of like going to Mexico, you don't drink the water in Mexico.
Right.
But then we found a house to lease and they had a filter system, so.
And you met your husband in the Philippines?
Right.
And what year was that?
1976, the bicentennial, so, and
And where did you meet?
he came over to to see what my roommate was doing, and she wasn't there, but I was. I had just gotten home, like 5 in the afternoon from work, tropics, hot, sweaty. He knocks on the door and I grump at him. What do you want? But he came back. Even though he came to see
Despite the cold reception.
where my roommate was.
Right.
And it just went from there. Kind of like, forget the roommate.
And how long were the both of you in the Philippines?
I was there, I extended, because there was no one back home who really cared that much, so I extended my 15-month tour to 22 months. I didn't feel the need to come back. And my husband did 15 months over there, so almost 2 years for me.
And he was Air Force as well?
Yeah.
How long was he in the Air Force?
Oh, he did 22 years.
So you retired Air Force?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you know of any wounded or fallen comrades?
Pardon?
Did you know any wounded or fallen comrades?
No.
No. Nothing like that?
No, because we missed that Vietnam cutoff. And the only thing related to Vietnam's is since I was in supply, they were closing out bases in Thailand, and we got all the stuff from the Thailand bases, and that kept us busy counting parts and pieces and nuts and bolts. But like I say, I missed that.
Okay, so there was-
When the POWs were going through Clark Air Base, I totally missed that one because, I went in
And
after.
what year were you discharged?
When I got out, 79,
79.
August of 79.
So there wasn't any conflict even
Mm-mm.
then?
No.
Nothing that I guess you could say we were engaged
My
in?
conflict association is in the Grenada, and when I was in the Air National Guard.
That was 85?
That was
86?
82 through 84, I think, is the time period. So,
And there was never any, you were never in a position to go be sent out there? That was never an
Nope.
option?
mm-mm. I was on, because I was in the Philippines, I think the reason they had what they call a mobility team.
Mhm.
I was on the mobility team because I was in the Philippines. And it wasn't that long after the Vietnam War. Of course, I volunteered. You keep a duffel bag full of whatever you need just to go, you grab it and you go. So, but it was mobility team, so.
And that's what it's called, the mobility?
It was back then.
how would you describe the readjustment to civilian life?
Boring.
Was it boring? Really?
Routine.
Yeah. Heard that said before.
Had to find a job, a civilian job, and at the time, they were still kind of, I don't know. Everybody told me, well, you might have hiring preference because you're a female and a veteran. That didn't happen. Maybe it's just because of the timing. So it was difficult to get civilian jobs, but on the other side, alternative side, I did use the GI Bill and went to school after I got out of active duty. So I went to college, got my Parks and Rec degree. So
And
that's
what year-
okay. I didn't have a full-time job. I got to go to school.
Right. What year did you graduate?
From where? From
Well, first I should ask, what school did you go to?
Spokane Community College.
And you got did you get a degree there?
Yeah, I got the Associates Applied Science, AAS, degree in Natural Resources with the Parks and Rec
Mm-hmm.
segment.
And what year was that?
I graduated in '82 from that. Let's see, it was like '79 through '81 or 2. It was a 2-year program, 2-year degree. So
Did you enjoy that?
I loved it.
Really?
Well, I grew up in Montana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I loved it. In Spokane, Washington, trees,
Mhm.
you know.
Are you a natural student?
I have a little difficulty with certain things, but I love the whole course. And being older, I kind of appreciated it more too.
Yeah.
So
What was your rank when you discharged?
I was a staff sergeant. I made my last rank in the Air National Guard, so I ended up being a staff sergeant. So
And your husband?
he was enlisted for 6 years, got out, so we were students at the same time. But in the early 80s, Reagan had frozen federal jobs and the job market was horrible. So he reapplied to go in as an officer because he had his degree then. So he had a break in service, but he went back in as an officer. So, and then he finished out in 22 years because they count the enlisted and the both sides for the
And it was during that time that you decided to go back to school or to go to school?
Well, we both went to school after we both got out of enlisted, which was '79. We both got out he got out a couple months before I did in '79. And then both used GI Bill, so we were college students together.
That's interesting that you had spent your military life together, then you went on to further
Yeah, we had a
education.
lot of togetherness.
There's nothing wrong with that. I noticed that you had brought a photo. Would you care to share that photo?
It's over there.
Oh, it's over here. I can grab it for you.
Oh, okay.
And you can tell us a little bit about it here. Sure, you can hold that up to the camera a little bit higher there. A little bit higher. There you go. And can you tell us a little bit about that? And your age and where you were stationed?
Okay. I was age 20, and this was taken during basic training. They said, go over and get your picture taken, so we did. So, and my name tag says Piper. That was the name I enlisted under. My maiden name was Piper. So.
And where was basic training at?
Lackland Air Force Base,
That's-
Texas.
Well, how would you say your military service has affected your life?
Hmm?
How would you say your military service has affected your life?
Good work ethic. Well, it affected my life. I met my husband there.
Obviously.
just appreciation for what the military does. People actually get deployed and go fight and all that stuff.
What life lessons or observations did you gather?
Okay, respect authority. Go through the chain of command for whatever issues. Don't spread rumors, get in trouble. Like, those are the good life lessons.
Right. Do your job.
Yeah, do your job, follow orders, and go through the chain of command. Those are the biggies. Because sometimes people didn't go through the chain of command. They jumped, went clear to the top. So,
Well, how would you say that these experiences impacted your outlook on military life and service?
I liked it. I enjoyed being in, there were some things in my social life I didn't like, but being active duty, I liked it. I felt productive, did a good job. So I enjoyed the active duty better than the Air National Guard. Air National Guard was very political because it's run by the state.
Oh.
So I'd rather do more active duty than go back into the Air National Guard.
Well, how have these experiences affected your outlook on war?
I do believe there's a time and a place for war. You know, there really is. To protect your own country. If you study a little bit of military history, our world could be so different if there weren't certain crucial battles. Like my father-in-law was in the Battle of the Bulge in World War II. My father was headed for Japan, but they dropped the bombs before he got there, so he was redirected to Hawaii for a few months. So, you know, there's crucial battles that, when you think about it, we could be speaking a different language nationwide.
Yes.
Crucial battles.
I've heard different veterans describe it as a necessary evil.
Yeah, it is, yeah. It's like anything, even non-wartime stuff, you know, like what's going on now. You have to have policemen, and they have to do what they have to do, so, you know.
Future generations will see this interview. What would you like them to know about you, about your experiences, about just your thoughts?
Okay, from being a female in the late 70s in the Air Force, it is somewhat of a shock when you go in, but you get used to it. Be yourself. Don't try to copy anybody. Don't be like the guys. Just stay female. Keep your feminine side, but do the job just like the man would. That's what you're there for. You're supposed to do equal work. But you don't have to act like a male. You can keep your femininity. So, but just do your job.
Were you ever made to feel uncomfortable or uneasy or any different because you were a woman, because you are a woman?
Oh, there was a little bit in the Philippines. That was cultural. Worked in a huge warehouse, and the Filipino men that worked, they hired a certain amount of the Filipinos on base, and they'd work in the warehouse alongside us. But they saw me out there. At first, they got used to me. But when I first went out and worked in the warehouse part, they'd come over and ask, can I help you? And this and that. You know, here I am, this tall woman. The Filipino men are like here.
Yeah.
But they'd still come over, and because I was female, they'd come over and offer to help. But
You're right.
they finally got the picture. This was my job. I was supposed to lift those boxes. They got used to having
They got used
females
to
over
that.
there. Because you gotta remember, there were so few of us over there at the time at Clark Air Base, late seventies,
So it was an
70s.
adjustment on both sides to,
Yeah, it was an adjustment for them, but it's kinda like, it's okay, I can do this. But they were sweet, they really were sweet, the Filipino guys.
no bad experiences to speak of, or that you want to share?
Just a lot of it, some of it's cultural, some of it's within my social area, but overall, nothing real bad. So, had to be careful, because we were told, when we got off the plane over there, they kept us for a couple hours in a nice hot metal building. And I had my winter uniform on, and this is the tropics. But they told us what you could do and couldn't do, what gestures not to do and what not to say. But they also said, do not, if somebody asks you for your cigarette ration, don't give it to them, because it'll never stop. They'll keep asking and asking, and just don't ever start it. You have an alcohol ration, don't ever give it to anybody. Don't use certain gestures, but, so I was really careful there.
Yeah, stay on your toes.
Yes, and then black market, we had a lot of theft over there. Our supply compound was huge because it was Clark Air Base.
Mhm.
Everybody was flying in and out of Clark Air Base during the Vietnam era. Our black boxes or oscilloscopes, I think that's what you call them, they would disappear. They were a lot, black market, worth a lot. And so we had a big fence around our compound, and you went through this guard gate and all that. Your pockets had to be empty because of all the
Have
theft.
security.
Yeah, it was pretty secure, but they still lost certain things, so.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything you remember?
As far as the Philippines goes,
Anything?
the farther away from the base, the people were more normal. The Filipinos were more normal. Around the base, you had, and this is the not so good side of being on an American base in the Philippines. Outside one gate, there were bars, and we had bar girls and this and that, and the GIs kind of liked the Filipinas. So you can imagine that.
Right.
And so that was the not so good side.
Was that much of an issue, a big issue?
No, not for me, but there was a lot of GIs with their wives over there that, did their thing. So that was not so good. But so that's why I say the farther away, the Filipinos, they were like you and me, normal. But around the base, that's the corruption and pickpockets and all that. But you get away from the base, like we went up in the hills to John Hay Air Base, R&R base. No pickpockets, just normal people, village type people, We went to several places, and so you didn't have the corruption that the base had around it. So, and that's why I like the Filipinos, because they're just like you and me, unless they get too involved with stuff.
Right.
But.
Well, Mrs. Lewis, thank you so much for taking the time for this interview. And above all, thank you for your service to this country.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't know, let me think. I'm glad I went in the Air Force.
Yeah.
It was a job, I was, like I said, meandering around, seasonal work, $2 an hour, I needed a paycheck. So it was a good thing I went in the Air Force.
Yeah. And you got to use your GI Bill?
Yep, and met my husband,
And met your husband?
so.
Now, are you involved in, with like the VFW or anything like that?
I belong to the American Legion, yeah. And the only way I could join the American Legion is because of my Air National Guard in the Grenada
Mhm.
era. Because you have to have wartime, you have to have served during wartime. It was Grenada during
Are you
the,
active in any ceremonial events?
Yeah, at times, yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Parades? and-
I've done some flag folding ceremonies, a couple of those with the schools, so did 2 of those, so kind of depends on how it comes along.
Yeah.
So,
And you enjoy the company of your fellow veterans?
yeah, some of them, yeah.
Are you active here locally?
Yep, host 3 American Legion. And and I'm a member of the auxiliary too, since.
How long have you been a member?
When we moved here in 2005, Jim Lint was walking around Civic Park. He saw us sitting there on a bench. We didn't know anybody. He came over and said hi and found out we were veterans. And so he says, "Oh, you want to join the American Legion?"
And it was just like that. And you've been a member, I'm sorry, you've been a
Since
member-
2005,
Since
American Legion,
2005.
yeah. So,
Right. Well, thank you again for
Okay.
taking the time to listen. We really, really do appreciate it.
okay, and thank you.
Thank you.